where free speech, the First Amendment, should rule, and they're basically telling white people specifically how, you know, they have to keep their mouth shut, not speak to the media, this and that, which I understand to a certain degree. You know, you want to have the Black Lives movement be the front of the they're speaking with the media, but to tell people that, you know, they have to keep their hands down, they can't put their hands up when they're your allies, they're trying to be there in solidarity.
And it's really changed a lot, because from the time, you know, I guess it really kicked up when we were in Ferguson. We were there, and there were white people, black people, and all that. And, you know, the white people were speaking on camera just like the black people were, to show that it wasn't just black people out there. Of course, you know, it's Black Lives Matter, but it was, you know, white people and Asian people and, you know, Hispanic people just coming together, like I said, under a common cause. But it just seems like it's fragmented into just deep segregation. Absolutely. And that is divide and conquer. That's how you will lose. If we all come together like people want, and like we were starting to when the whole situation with Ferguson came about, there was some real change that was going to happen. But now it is just so flooded with all these ridiculous protests, Black Lives Matter moves in everywhere, that it's oversaturated and people don't care anymore. And then now they're just calling you entitled brats. But one last thing I just wanted to point out, just within regards to this hashtag activism, we know a lot of people change their profile pictures on social media to the colors of the Parisian flag. Well, now we have a cosmetic company who's facing backlash because they were selling blue, white, and red nail polish, and they marketed it as an effortless way to pay respects. So as if it couldn't get any more effortless by just changing your profile picture, now you can just paint your nails. And I can't recall the source, I don't want to go too deep into it, but I remember seeing something about people saying it was offensive to change your profile picture to the flag or put a flag over your face. But you got to change it to the flag of every nation that's been terrorized. Yeah, so I mean, it's just like, you can't please some people. You know, people just wanted to do something nice. So if anybody who was in the area could see that and just try to relate to it, but you can't do anything nice anymore. Thank you so much, Leanne McAdoo. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after this with more special reports.
Dr. Group joins us for the balance of this hour to talk about solutions. We have them up every couple of weeks. We have been trying to launch this for the last year. We got all of the organic ingredients to do it, and we've come up with a new Living Defense Harmful Organism Cleansing dietary supplement, and it is extremely affordable. It is brimming with the capsules, and the way I read the facts, this could do a cleanse for really a family of 4 or 5 people. Dr. Group, let's just get into the product now and then into parasites themselves, what folks really want to hear about in the next segment. But thank you for developing this for InfoWarsLife.com. Tell us about Living Defense and why it's so special.
Well, it's really special because it's part of the problem that we're dealing with today. When the earth becomes sick and the earth soils become acidic and the internal bodies become acidic because of all the toxic food in the air and the beverages that people are consuming, it sets up an environment that's ripe for harmful organisms to live, either on the earth. That's why a lot of the plants are infested with harmful organisms, or inside the body. And years ago, we linked every single disease process to an overgrowth of organisms in the body. And when people hear the word parasite, which the FDA does not like us to use, they actually came down on us and made us take the word parasite off everywhere, because we were exposing what the globalists have been doing, spreading these parasites and creating this environment, which is great for them to live in for years and years and years, because they know they drain us of energy, they make us sick. So we had to actually change the word parasite to harmful organism. And when we talk about harmful organisms, it's the definition, actually, the medical definition of parasite is any harmful organism that lives off of a host mechanism. Most people just think parasites are worms, but harmful organisms are bacteria, viruses that you can get through flu shots, funguses, yeast. We literally have an epidemic going on right now with molds and fungus and yeast living in everybody's body.
This is something that I heard about over a decade ago. I didn't really believe. I did one of these cleanses or invasive organism or harmful organism cleanses. It really hurt a lot, but it did do a lot. With this was not painful like some other cleanses I've done. The product is available at INFOWARSLife.com. I've always read and heard that just one of the ingredients, black walnuts, is really good at flushing parasites, and that, animals out in the fields eat them and stuff to naturally do this. We do cleanses on our dogs, our cats, our horses, our cows. Why not us?
Well, because they don't want you to know about that you need to do a parasite or a harmful organism cleanse. That's the thing. It's so secretive. And when we were doing our research into the root cause of every single disease, there's been plenty of proof.
The statistics are clear. 9 out of 10 people are infested with harmful organisms like parasites. Parasites can be transmitted by people, pets, food, and the environment, and so many other sources. Once parasites have made it inside your body, they steal your nutrients and release toxic waste. They use the bathroom inside of you. It's time to start eliminating toxic and harmful organisms from your body. Introducing Living Defense, the new harmful organism cleanser by InfoWarsLife.com. Living Defense uses wild-crafted organic herbs to help naturally cleanse harmful organisms from the body. We are expected to sell out of this very, very quickly. This is our limited first-time run. So visit InfoWarsLife.com today to try Living Defense today while supplies last. We take you now live to northern Paris, in medieval Paris, oldest part of the city, founded by the Romans more than 2,100 years ago, then in Gaul, where Joe Biggs, former Army Staff Sergeant, combat vet, is reporting on the front lines. I call this combat journalism, Joe. You're right there. You got the tips. You were there right after the raid today before anybody else. Congratulations to you and Mr. Zimmerman. Tell us what you witnessed.
Well, actually, when we got there, they had pushed off a lot of people, and there was a lot of press, probably over 100 people, but they were in this whole little area, just like we've seen, in Ferguson, things like that.
That's what I meant. You're the only ones that got it.
Yeah, exactly. So what happened is we got there, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, there's got to be another way that we can get around and find out what's going on. Like, that just doesn't make sense. They're not going to have every corner blocked off. So we hiked, blocks and blocks and went down every corridor, through every little alleyway. And every time we were met by police, they would push us out of the way. And then eventually I got to one, and I just sat there for a little while. We shot a video, and Zimmerman started uploading it. And then when I looked over my shoulder to go see if there was anybody still there, the police had moved away for a little bit. So I ran down this alleyway, and at that point, that's when I saw the body laying on the ground. They had this forensics team all around it, and they were taking pictures, and there was no camera crews except for me. There was no one out there except for the police and the investigators. And so I snapped some photos of the body underneath the bag, and eventually was able to actually talk to a French police officer. And I asked him, I said, is this one of the ISIS jihadis who was involved in the Paris attack on Friday? And he said, yes. So we were able to get there, with perseverance and pushing through and trying over and over again, and we got it. And it's great to see one of those crazy loons in a body bag and not out there able to hurt anybody else. But at the end of the day, that's still not going to stop this stuff from happening, because you have a lot of people out there who are supporting him, especially the governments, who are allowing these guys to go out and continue these missions. I mean, you have an entire town, Paris is completely just shook up. I went out last night briefly for about an hour and walked around, and there was no one out. And I went into different bars and stores, and I said, is this normal? And they said, no, people are scared. They don't want to go out. So, I mean, it's definitely has a toll on the economy, and people just are staying inside. And then you have what happened today with the explosions, the raids. You have a suicide bomber, a female at that, running out, setting herself off, killing herself and that police dog. And then we were able to witness the other terrorist that was killed. And like you said earlier, 7 other people were brought in. But I have some news as well. It just takes a second. From an update, the suspected Islamic militants uncovered in a Paris suburb by police were planning an attack on the French capital's La Défense business district, a source close to the investigation and 2 police sources said today. So these guys weren't just in hiding. These guys were actually active. They were trying to gather more people. This was a terrorist cell, and they were going to do more attacks throughout Paris. So that was stopped today.
Well, the reason it's important you got in there is we don't just believe governments when they say they've got somebody they've killed, there's a suicide bomber. We need to see it and document it, and that's why it's important that you got in there, Joe, and got that. I know you're going to be uploading more, but let me ask you this question. How on earth do you think the French president, the German chancellor, the U.S. president, and others think they're going to get away with bringing in record numbers of Islamicists when even the FBI admits a bunch of them are ISIS and are busting them even while Obama brings them in today? This is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to find out where these guys are being funded from. Who do they benefit from, and who are they really speaking for? You know, I highly doubt that, you know, a lot of these people in the government here want to allow this stuff to kind of happen. But there's somebody back there who's got money in their pocket, and they're pushing for it, and they're allowing those borders to stay open. They're allowing these people to come in.
Yeah, it's called Saudi Arabia that basically runs the White House to a great extent, and it's running this proxy war. Obama better have some aces in his hole, boy, because I'm telling you, I've never seen more brazen, arrogant, in-our-face behavior. There appear to be Arabic military-age men that Joe says are basically stalking them right now, taking photos. They've been followed by cars. They are below the Sacred Heart Cathedral in Paris that overlooks the city from the north towards the south. If you're a TV viewer, we're going to cut to some shots of the cathedral, and I'm going to have Zimmerman pan out over the city at night so you can see what our crew is seeing. But I want to take you now back to Joe, and then I want to finish up in this segment and have Joe move to another location so that they're safer, because reporters and others have been threatened. People have been attacked. There have been now, 8 attacks total, 6 that night, 2 others, and a lot of other reports that are just being pawned off as crime that I'm also seeing in the news. But Joe, you say that you're picking up on some folks basically stalking you?
Yeah, there's been 3 guys that have been kind of like walking around. They finally eventually left because of this van behind me. As you can see, it's full of police with submachine guns. So that definitely makes me feel a little bit better, because I am in a gun-free zone and I don't have that ability, that Second Amendment, like I do back in Texas, back in America, to protect myself from one of these guys. So it's definitely nice to have that right there. But yeah, these guys kept walking around. There are 3 guys, and they just kind of like taking a few pictures and looking at us, and they don't look happy at all. I mean, they looking at me like they, you know, like to kick my head in. So,
and you were telling us off air, they don't have the bearing of police who've been leaving you alone and been friendly. You're saying they had the bearing of, they looked Arabic?
Yes.
And so experienced that in Iraq and Afghanistan. What did you pick up?
Just the way they're staying together. They're staying in a group, and they keep walking around, and they're trying to, almost seems like they're trying to be intimidating by maybe scaring us to go away, or either to see if we'll move, then they can follow us somewhere else. So either way, I've got a good eye. I've been around this stuff before in combat, and we'll be all right.
Other points you want to add or need to add, developments that have been unfolding since we talked to you 23 hours ago?
Like I said, we got up this morning. We heard the initial reports about the raid that began around 4:20 a.m. Paris time. I actually slept with my windows open, so I actually heard a loud boom from where I was at, and I didn't really quite think much of it until when I finally woke up and looked at my phone and saw what was going on. I said, hey, we got to get out there. We need to go find out what's going on. So we headed out to called St. Denis. It's a basically like a suburb northeast of Paris. It's about a 30-minute drive out there. And like you said, just tons and tons of people. And the thing to think about is, you know, the way ISIS is, the way a lot of these people are, they go to these events after they happen, and they sit there in the crowd and film. You know, it makes you think how many actual active jihadists were in that crowd laughing about what's going on, about the attacks on Friday, taking pictures, shooting video, trying to get out information about people they might find as a threat to send back to their base in Syria or Iraq, to wherever they have their different leaders, and planning on things like that. So it's definitely something to think about. This is an ongoing situation. And like you said earlier, they're expecting more attacks to happen over the holidays, and it's a possibility. And like you said, they're allowing, even though these attacks happen, they are going to allow more of these refugees to come through. And like I've said before, not all of them are going to be bad, but all it takes is 2 or 3 of them to get together, get a plan, and do something bad. And we saw what happened on Friday. We saw what happened with Charlie Hebdo. Horrible stuff. And people need to remember that that can happen in America.
Well, we've already had the recruiting centers hit, Fort Hood, the rest of it, and our media just spins it and says it's not jihad. How are they going to do that when hundreds get killed at a shopping mall or at a college or at a Jewish center? How are they going to cover that up, Joe Biggs?
I mean, I don't get how Salon can even come out and say that they do this because they're stressed out. I've been stressed out. I've been in combat, and not one time did I ever think about strapping a suicide vest to myself and blowing